Welcome to the world's finest strike podcast, where we bring you voices of the sea. Subscribe now.
Welcome back to the world's finest strike podcast. Today I've got a very special guest. I'm really excited about speaking to him. It was one of those things where I read his book. I it really resonated with me, and I wanted to share it. So, uh, Dr. Stephen Edwards, thank you for joining us today. If I could, would you mind introducing yourself, and we'll start it off.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you for having me on. As Patrick said, my name is, on the book it says Dr. Stephen Paul Edwards, and I am a doctor, but it's something I've never really used before, so I'm still trying to get comfortable accepting that. But my name is Stephen, right? Stephen Edwards, born in Blackpool, England, which is the center of the universe. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Had, like most people, a pretty traumatic childhood.
Hmm.
We all think we're the only one, right? Because when we're growing
Yeah,
up, we don't know anything. We don't know what's going on in other people's lives, right?
exactly.
So, pretty tumultuous. So it created a lot of trauma for me in different ways. It was like when I was growing up, the environment was you felt like you're walking on glass all the time. You couldn't do anything.
Hmm.
The old saying when we were kids was just children are supposed to be seen and not heard. I was
Hmm.
not I was not supposed to be seen or heard. So caused a lot of frustration, suppressed anger, rage,
Hmm.
because I couldn't move, felt like I was in a straitjacket. So I ended up in a straitjacket when I was 16. I was put into a mental asylum, or I call it an insane asylum, and then underwent electroconvulsive therapy (ECT), which if you haven't tried it, you should. It's fun. Anyway, so that affected me in profound ways. Not only because it burns half your memory out, but because it's something you don't want other people to know, right?
Hmm.
Because it was shameful, right? And so I spent my life being ashamed of that and hiding it. And then I put it in a book. Anyway, so that's what we tend to do with our shame, right?
Yeah.
That seems to be the case, right? That we don't want people to know these certain things about us, and so we hide them. But what we don't realize is it's causing us to live only half our lives, our
Hmm.
potential, because we're always living in fear that what if people find out about that, right?
Right.
And then what if they don't love us anymore, or they judge us, or they don't see us the same way anymore? And why take the risk, right? Let's just keep it
Hmm.
quiet and nobody knows. But the problem is, and what's happening is you're living in fear of that being found out. So you can never live your full potential. And you're
Hmm.
afraid to step into your full power, your gifts and your tools and skills that you have. So at some point, you got to sort of make a decision, which I did, right? I'd gone through 4 marriages. So I was just extremely unlucky, right?
Hmm.
Right? So eventually you're going to say, I keep doing the same thing. Four
Right.
marriages, four completely different women, only one constant, it's me. Maybe I need to look at me a little more, right?
Yeah.
So, and then you start the journey of becoming self-aware, and the journey, as I call the journey home, because I think the journey that we're taking is a journey to remember who we really are.
Hmm.
That's our home. That's our home.
Yeah.
So I've actually written a book called Welcome Home, which is a kind of an explanation of, because this is a toxic relationship I wrote about, no question, right?
Hmm.
Very toxic relationship, but it helps you understand that that's not a bad thing. That
Yeah.
toxic relationships can be the greatest gift of all because you go through the greatest learning, right? As long
Exactly.
as you look at it from a perspective of it didn't happen to me, it happened for me.
Hmm.
And pulling
Yeah.
out the gifts in it by saying, what is it reflecting back at me? It's a mirror, right? Everything is a mirror, right?
Hmm.
But most people don't have the awareness. They've never been taught these things. And so it's very easy for people to fall into feeling like they're a victim,
Hmm.
feel like it happened to them. And here's the difference, right? So I have a belief that nothing happens to you, everything happens for you. Sounds simple, probably heard it before,
Yes.
but it's much different to live it. It's one of the hardest things you'll ever do because you've got to take responsibility that you're drawing everything into your life. All these people that you think are doing something to you that you may be angry about, resentful towards, are not there to hurt you. They're there to really kick your ass, right? And say,
Hmm.
look at yourself in this. Can you see it? And that doesn't. Some people go, wait a minute. Well, what if the guy kicks the crap out of me, or or it hits me, abuses me, and okay, so what have you got to do to change that?
Mhm.
Just like a kid in school, if they're being bullied, is it a good idea for the parent to go there and kick the bully up and down the street? Doesn't help your child, right? It
No.
doesn't help them. It hinders them because they think someone's going to save them and they're not.
Mhm.
So you have to let your child work that out. Well, it's the same when we're adults, right? You have to step into your own power. We kind of went off tangent a little bit here. I didn't want to go into this right now,
Oh
but
no.
because sometimes people are thinking, "What do you mean he hit me? What do you mean she crashed that chair over my head? Whatever it is, right?" And
Yeah.
it's not to say they didn't do that, but it's saying there's an opportunity in that for you. Forget
Mhm.
about them, right? They're gone, right? You
Yeah.
can't change them, right? But what you
Yeah.
can do is look at that and say, well, okay, how did that happen for me? How did I draw that into my life? So then you start the process of growth. Or if you say it happened to me, now you got a wound.
Hmm.
You got a wound, right?
Yes.
Or if you say, well, if it happened for me and you really, now it doesn't come immediately, right? You don't get hit in the face by someone and go, oh, that happened for me. No, that's just
Hmm.
not realistic, right? But when you can really sit down and be committed to finding something in it, you'll find it. But if you just quickly say, oh, it happened to me, you got a wound. But if you really look at how did this happen for me, you'll find it. And then you become wiser.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And like I said, I was going through the book. We're talking about the Venus Flytrap,
Mhm.
and we'll get into the details of like when it's going to be released. I'm looking forward to that because I need a signed copy.
Ah,
That's
okay.
just
We can meet
uh,
there.
and just to let you know, I do have friends and family in your area.
Yeah,
So, oh
no
yes,
way.
my son lives down in Northport, and my best friend lives in
Ah.
Osprey.
Yeah, Osprey's
So,
beautiful, man. I had
yes.
property in Northport way back before the
Hmm.
market crashed. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a beautiful part of the world. So you come down here to see family, huh?
I do. I do. So we'll get the book signed at that point. So that'll look
Yeah,
good.
no problem. By the way, just so you know, the book is out. The book is
Oh,
published.
it's
It's on Amazon.
oh, it is. Okay.
I'm
I
not doing a
looked
plug
at
here. I'm not trying to do a plug here because we're going to give some chapters away, right? Anyway, so nobody has
absolutely.
to worry about putting their hand in the pocket here. We're just
Yeah.
talking about it, and if you're interested, you can get some of the chapters for free, and then see if you like the book. Anyway,
Yeah, I
so
think one of the biggest questions I have is how's Jerry doing?
he's
Because I
doing
feel for
great.
that poor
He's
guy.
doing great.
Oh,
Oh, man.
every time I was going through, I'm like, what is he? Oh my gosh, I feel for him. I
I
just want to, you know,
know, man.
he needs like a medal, like a Bronze
What a great
Star,
friend,
Congressional
man.
Medal of Honor, something like that. So
What a
no.
great friend. Yeah, he has yeah, he's a great friend. Yeah, we've been through a lot together. This is just a
Hmm.
part of it, right? So it's yeah, it's a great friendship.
Absolutely.
We're like what do they call that? Brothers from another mother, right?
Yes. So over the years that you've had your relationships, you mentioned earlier, or probably with us, you've had four other marriages.
Yeah.
And then what made you really move this into a book? And because a lot of people, when they start their first books, it is a memoir-based book.
Yeah.
And then, of
Yeah.
course, think of everything after this. You can just go in fiction, you can make everything up, whatever you want to do to tell a different story.
Yeah.
But what made you write this one first, and how did you come up to that realization? Like, I'm putting this down on paper and really documenting what I've learned and lived.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, this is not the first book I've written.
Mm,
I think five or six others. But this is the first book that I've written. Oh gosh, how do you say this right? So that I really want to put out there into the world,
hmm.
right? The other books were really written because I was in those speaking in those particular genres, and
Hmm.
it's a good idea to have a book when you're doing that, right?
Hmm.
Never really expecting to sell any, right? And so I
Hmm.
didn't. Anyway, so this is different, right? So how did I come to write this? And as you said, I originally actually put it out as a memoir, right? It's
Hmm.
now based on a true story. Why? Well, because I had to change names, right, to protect
Yes.
people's privacy. And at the beginning of the book, I say to protect the innocent, of which there weren't any. But anyway,
Hmm.
to protect their privacy and also to stay out of jail, right?
Yes.
So it is a true story. The only thing I've changed is some names and certain circumstances to, again, protect people's identity so they can't be identified from the book and the story. And actually, as I figured out working with attorneys, they said it's better to, if you say it's a memoir,
Hmm.
you're kind of saying to the people, come prove it's not true.
Right.
But if you write based on a true story, you're telling the audience, come take this journey with me.
Hmm.
Different feel, right? And I did that
Yep.
because I wanted it. It was very important for me to let people know this is a true story. This really
Hmm.
happened. I didn't make this up. And I couldn't make it up because I'm not really good at making up stories. I can tell
Yeah.
stories, but I'm not really good at making them up. Anyway, but it was so why did I write the book? Well, first of all, I wrote it for me
Hmm.
because I really wanted to, what do you say, download the experience. I knew it was an amazing story, but it wasn't until I started writing it I realized what an amazing story it is, right? It really is incredible.
Hmm.
But I wanted to do it for some time. But if you look at the cover of the book and you read what it's about, it sounds like an erotic romance, right? And it is on
Hmm.
the surface. That's a hard book to write if you're married to somebody or in a relation with somebody else, right? Because they're going to go,
Yeah.
"What are you? Who is this woman? Right? What are you doing?" So I got myself to a space where I haven't dated for 4 years, right? I
Hmm.
wanted to take some time out, and of course, that's when it came pouring out, right? When I had the space, and so I do believe that certain things happen for a reason. I don't believe everything is predestined, but I do think there are certain things that happen to trigger you to do certain things that are going to
Hmm.
be moving you towards what you really want to do and finding a sense of purpose. Sometimes people say, I've been asking God what my purpose is and I can't figure it out. And I go, because God ain't going to tell you, right?
Right.
You've got to tell that to yourself. You've got to decide, this is what I love to do. This is something I'm passionate about. And then make it into a business or a career or whatever. If you want to make an income at it, you can. Because people love people that are passionate about whatever it is.
Hmm.
If you're passionate about growing strawberries, you'll be good at it. You'll be very detailed, and anybody who loves growing strawberries is going to read your book.
Yep.
Anyway, so this experience that I went through, I'd be interested to get your perspective because you read the book. Yes, it was a toxic relationship.
Hmm.
Yes, I got my ass kicked a lot. Yes, I did some things that most people would say are so ridiculously stupid,
Hmm.
right? You get to the end of a chapter and you go, oh, thank God, I feel better for him now.
Right.
It's over, right? And then you turn to the
Yes.
next page, you go, they're back together? How on earth?
Right.
How did that happen,
Yeah.
right?
I know you're killing me. Yes. That's exactly the way it
And you're
happened.
almost cheering from the crowd. You go, get out of there. Stop, you idiot. So, and then you go, wait a second. What did he say in the first chapter? Yeah, he's been doing spiritual counseling for 20 years.
Yeah.
He's worked with
Uh,
Tony Robbins and he's got all this background and put this is the same guy, right?
yeah.
So, and the reason I'm saying this is not because I wasn't stupid, not because it didn't get my ass kicked, but what I learned later, right? Because I studied this, I was asking myself the same question:
Hmm.
how could I be such an idiot, right? And so what I've learned is this, and I've had some powerful spiritual awakenings. I actually had at one time what is called Satori, which
Hmm.
is actually instant awakening. You actually become
Yeah.
fully enlightened.
Hmm.
Not a trick I can pull off on my own. But anyway, but you don't stay there. There's a famous
Yeah.
story about a young Chinese kid, 18, 20. He works in a laundromat, right? The
Hmm.
stereotyping there, right? From this story.
Yeah.
And at one point, he's walking through the laundromat with a basket of laundry. And
Hmm.
suddenly, boom, he experiences this Satori. Instant awakening. Goes through this experience, then it's over. Then what does he do? Picks up the basket, carries on what he's doing.
Hmm.
We don't stay in these experiences, whether it's a toxic relationship or whether it's enlightenment, right?
Yeah.
It's a wave. We go in and out.
Hmm.
If you look at any deity that has ever lived on earth, you notice the same. They go in and out of being this incredibly enlightened person, and sometimes they're just like a normal person. It's a
Hmm.
wave because everything is a wave, right? Wavelength,
Yeah.
vibration, so you go in and out. And you have to go out to forget what you know so you can fill your cup again.
Hmm.
So you can learn new things. If you remembered everything you already knew, you wouldn't do it, right?
Right.
And so, but then when you empty your cup, it's usually at a time when you're at your weakest, right?
Hmm.
And this had been my pattern my whole life.
Mm.
Get into something, be really intense about it, do really well at it, build a sand mandala like the Buddhists do, right?
Yeah.
Then they just throw it in the river. You go, what? What? That was amazing. You could have sold that for $1 million and you just threw it in the river, right? Because nothing stays the same, nothing is permanent, right?
Hmm.
Now, I'm not saying I was thinking of that analogy when I was living my life, but I noticed that I get really intense, burn out,
Hmm.
let it all implode. Like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. Let it all
Yeah.
come crashing down and then reinvent myself. So I was already doing this many times, like with marriages, right? People say, well, you went through these 4 marriages, the same marriage. You go, no, no, no. They were not the same marriage. They were
Hmm.
not, none of these women were like each other, right? They were all
No.
different. And so every experience I went through and got my ass kicked was another experience, another level of the layers of what I needed to see in myself. Now, so when I came into this situation with Tamaz, I was just going through my fourth divorce.
Hmm.
I was burned out again because I was traveling, all over the world, speaking. I was either on an airplane in front of an audience and then getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, meditating, going work out. And my life was so structured, so
Hmm.
disciplined, right? That if you get too much discipline, you rebel,
Hmm.
right? You rebel.
Yes.
So discipline is the path to freedom. I learned that in martial arts, right? You
Hmm.
know that too, right? When you go in the
Yes.
military and you take this discipline, it's powerful, man. It gives you a new
Hmm.
lease on life. It gives you another way to look at things. It gives you a confidence and a certainty. It's very difficult to find anywhere else, right?
Hmm.
But if it was just 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, it would become too much and you got to break free. And that's how I felt,
Hmm.
right? So I'm at this place where I've kind of let my life implode. Going through my fourth divorce. I'm ready to just let go of being disciplined. And so then this woman comes into my life who is not disciplined, right? Who
Hmm.
wants to party, wants to do
Yeah.
drugs, wants to drink alcohol and enjoy her life in that way. And I'm like, oh, screw it, man. I'm not going to fight it. She's not going to listen to me anyway.
Yeah.
So if you can't beat them, join them, right? And
Hmm.
that's part of the reason I let go.
Yeah.
But as you can see from the book, there were consequences for that, right? So
Hmm.
it's a trade-off, right? So I was asking, if you remember when you're reading the book, I would
Hmm.
talk to you like you were in the room with me.
Hmm.
I go, you're probably thinking I should have broken up with her by now, right? And you're going,
Hmm.
yes. And I'm going, yeah, but if I
Yeah.
had, you wouldn't be enjoying this freaking story now, would you? You wouldn't be listening,
Right.
right? And I wouldn't have had all the experiences.
Hmm.
So one of the things I want readers to get is, look, if you're in a toxic relationship, there's nothing wrong with you, right?
Hmm.
Because people can go, "Man, what's wrong with me? Why is this happening to me, right? Why do I keep doing this?" It's just the universe, God is trying to get you to see yourself
Hmm.
and look at the mirror and say, is this how I want to be? If
Yep.
that's a part of you that you have let go throughout your life, it's showing you
Hmm.
that, right? So she was very authentic, right? She didn't care what anybody
Hmm.
thought. She was going to do whatever
Right.
she wanted, right? And isn't that really how we all want to live? We all want to live
Hmm.
authentically, right? So she was showing me that I wasn't, because
Hmm.
I was admiring her for that and thinking, yeah, but I'm not doing that, right? I'm keeping that suppressed.
Yep.
And I wasn't being vulnerable. I was creating this identity, it's on stage, this
Hmm.
personality, this persona. It wasn't me, right? And I didn't want people to find these things out about me, like being in a mental institution, like all the things that I was
Hmm.
humiliated from when I was a child and all this stuff. But she helped me understand that vulnerability is a power.
Hmm.
It's a powerful thing to be able to put it all out there because you're free.
Yep.
Those things no longer have power over you.
Hmm.
Nobody can use those against you, especially if you put them in a book. So,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's out there. So who can say anything about you that's
Hmm.
going to offend you? Who can say anything about you that you haven't said about yourself? You know what I mean? And so,
Yeah.
wow, they don't have power over me anymore. So
Hmm.
I'm so much more free. And a big part of me was pleasing people, right? I was a giver, right? Pleasing people.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But that's boundaries, right? Not setting boundaries. I'll do whatever you
Hmm.
want. What do you need? And focus on
Hmm.
everybody else except yourself. So when you're put in these situations where you put on your ass, right,
Hmm.
again, then it's a time to say, okay, well, what am I getting out of this, right? What did I learn here? And little by slow, you start to come around to the fact that it didn't happen to you, it happened for you. And if you don't want it to happen
Yep.
again, you got to change some things. You got to look back, usually
Hmm.
your childhood, right? And say, where were these patterns created? And be prepared to change the patterns. It's just a pattern. I say to people, listen, you don't have a relationship problem. You have a pattern problem, right?
Yes.
You created these patterns unconsciously when you were a child. And they're
Hmm.
following you through your whole life until you heal them, you know?
Yep.
There's a famous pastor who once said, give me your son until he's 7 years of age, and I will show you the man.
Mm.
It's already set. So to change that, you got to do some work. I'm not
Yeah.
saying it's going to be easy. I'm just saying it's going to be worth it. And the sooner you do it, the sooner you can save yourself years of confusion and pain, right?
Hmm. Yeah, and I definitely hear that for sure because I have a book out, Deception Underway, and it was my life story as well, just the last several years of the Navy. But yeah, I did write it while I'm married, and I don't think she ever read it yet. That might be a little bit of a. I've got a lot of people that have read it. She
Yeah.
hasn't, but it was about a lot of past relationships, and
Ah, okay.
sailor loses love, sailor finds love, and
Mhm.
but I had to get it out there. And I think that was my question is that when you were journaling, when you wake up in the morning, you meditate, are you journaling right after it? Is this where you're coming up with just your thoughts for the day and how you're going? Because at that point, when did you figure out like, this is a great story. I need to just keep documenting it while you were in that relationship with Tomas.
Yeah. The reason I'm smiling is because it's a funny thing that I tell people. Look,
Yeah.
as a spiritual counselor talking on spirituality, personal development, obviously we would tell people to journal, right? You know,
Hmm.
journal, right? Because that's all your thoughts coming out. It's your subconscious telling you, what you need to know so you can see more clearly about your life. And I did journal, right?
Hmm.
But here's the problem. I never read them.
Oh no.
So I'm not kidding. I had a stack of journals, drawers full
Uh-huh.
of journals. I never read them, right?
Yeah.
Because, when I talked about being a kid and going through trauma, when I'm walking around the house feeling like it's scary, man. You just want to get away. You feel like you're in a straitjacket,
Hmm.
which is why I probably ended up in a straitjacket, right?
Yeah.
And so all I wanted to do was run away. I wanted to run away
Hmm.
from home, right? And I did. I ran away 8 times, but I kept getting caught. But anyway,
Hmm.
but what I realized later, because when I got away from home, I left home when I was 16. I had my own home when I was 17.
Hmm.
Again, just intense, finding a way to get out of these situations, right? But what I realized eventually was I wasn't running away from a physical home.
Hmm.
I was running away from my home, which is me.
Oh yeah.
I was running away from my past, right? For what had happened and the pain. There was a dog that lived across the road from me when I was when I was living at home. And he was a little terrier, right?
Hmm.
It was a little terrier that had a Napoleon syndrome, right? That was, he could kill any dog he wanted, the big boy, right? So
Yeah.
anyway, every so often, out of nowhere, it would decide it was going to chase a car. So a car goes past the house and they go flying down the street chasing this car, like, shooing it away. And the car would always go away. So the dog felt,
Hmm.
I told that car, right? But anyway, this particular car one day, for whatever reason, stopped and the dog ran into the back of the car,
Hmm.
and it whimpered and it was hurt. And then it started running the other way, right? So what was it running away from? It was running away from the pain.
Hmm.
And it thought if it ran fast enough, it could run away from the pain so it wouldn't feel pain anymore, right?
Hmm.
It's interesting that it became a memory of mine so clear, and it was because I was doing the same thing. I
Yeah.
was running away from my pain, and I was too afraid to turn around and look at it. So I just kept going and going and going, doing and doing and doing, throwing myself into everything. Like, what do they say? 1,000% if there was a such thing, right? But
Hmm.
anyway, really intense. And this is part of where my intensity comes from. So, and that's why I wrote all these journals and I never read them. And the first time I really read one was when I was going through my fourth divorce in the beginning.
Hmm.
And I read a journal. It was just like, I wanted something out of the bottom drawer of my what do you call it? Nightstand, whatever.
Mhm.
And so I opened this drawer, and there were a bunch of journals, right?
Mhm.
So I'll open one up and read one. Got nothing else to do. And there, in that journal, was just a powerful reinforcement. What do I mean? So when I met my fourth wife,
Mhm.
I was speaking in California in Anaheim, an event where I was doing two events back to back. And she came to the first event, and at the end of the first event, on the last day, she comes in, and people have an opportunity to upgrade to another level of training or whatever. And so the one of my team came to me and said, "Oh, Julie wants to ask you about the advanced training." And I'd noticed her during the weekend, but she kind of
Mhm.
stepped it up a little bit on the Sunday. You could see she just done
Yeah.
a little bit more. So, and she's attractive. So I said, but I would have said yes anyway. I said, yeah, sure. I'll talk to her. I said, I got to, get the students doing something. I'll come out. Anyway, make a long story a little longer. When I go out and meet her, within the first 3 minutes, she says to me, oh, by the way, I need to let you know that I am a Christian and I'm a Republican.
Mhm.
I mean, who the hell says that after 3 minutes?
Right.
Nothing wrong with that, but it's kind of a little weird. You're telling me that right out of the gate, right?
Uh-huh.
So in my mind, I said, this is never going to work.
Mhm.
And I wrote that in the journal. And we
Mhm.
ended up getting married, right? So
Yeah.
how did that happen? You told yourself it wasn't going to work. Well, yeah. But then she said, after the conversation, she said, I'm thinking about taking the day off tomorrow because, I've been through this event. And it was like an invitation. And I was going
Mhm.
to a theme park, California Adventures in Disney, right?
Yep.
And I had some friends coming in. And so I said, well, we're going to go to Disney tomorrow. If you want to come, you're welcome. And she
Mhm.
said, yeah. So we did. And we walked into that California Adventures. I took her hand, and we were never apart for the next 4 years.
Mhm.
But then, when I'm going through this situation, she's gone, and I pull up this journal, and what are the chances I would open the page where it's that exact conversation?
Mhm.
This is never going to work.
Yeah.
It's like the universe had put that timestamp. No, that I was going to read it at the right time to say it was never going to last. It wasn't
Mhm.
meant to be forever. It was for a reason, right?
Yep.
So anyway, that's my journaling story.
Yeah.
So yeah, journals are powerful, and what you realize when you read them is you're saying the same thing over and over again. It reminds
Mhm.
me of that movie. What was it called? With Jack Nicholson, The Shining, right?
Oh yeah.
When he's
Mhm.
gone crazy, and then his wife looks at the notes, and he's just writing the same thing over and over again, right?
Yep.
It felt like that. So yeah, but journaling is powerful for sure, as long as you read them, right?
Mhm.
Because your
Yeah.
subconscious is telling you all the time, right? Your subconscious is telling you all the time, and it knows all the answers.
Mhm.
Got it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good way because I do remember reading that in the story about Jack Nicholson. I was like, oh yeah, there it is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because I was like, at first I saw Jack Nicholson, I was like, is he going to talk about the twins, about the little girls, the creepy girls? No, no, it's.
Right, right, right. Yeah, yeah,
But yeah,
yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So yeah, go ahead. What were you
this
gonna
is great. Yeah, so I going through just the story, and you mentioned red flags
say?
and how we just kind of blow past them. You look at red lights, and I was thinking, of course, reading the story, know where you're at, and I'm thinking, screaming down Tamiami, just blowing all the red lights,
Yeah,
and I just ignore them. We don't need them. But
that's right.
what
They're not for me. They're for
there's
everybody
suggestions.
else. As suggestions, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you saw your red flags, either your red flags or her red flags, how did you kind of put that in the back of my mind? Like, I don't want to really worry about that. We'll just see what happens next. How did you ignore all the red flags? How about that?
Yeah. Well, it was actually pretty easy. But let me give you an
Mhm.
example. You probably remember this from the beginning of the book. So people tell
Yes.
you who they are in the first few
Hmm.
minutes of you meeting them, right?
Hmm.
So the book's called The Venus Flytrap, right? So we met online, which was a red flag, right? Anyway,
Hmm.
so we met online, and She's, stunning. She's beautiful. She's red blood. You can see she's from Wales. She's show jumping. She's lived in Paris and Italy and where else was it? Oh, Miami and all over the world.
Hmm.
And she's fabulous, right? So you're like, holy crap. Uh, and then you say you like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna try and connect with her, right?" And you go, well, what I gotta
Yeah.
lose, right? So finally I
Right.
did. And it says in the book, she agreed to go. Now, this is an international website, right? But
Hmm.
she lives down the road in St. Petersburg, right?
Yeah.
Florida, right? I mean, what are the
Hmm.
chances, right? So anyway, obviously 100%. But anyway, so I get her to agree to go for a coffee with me, right? Pretty pathetic,
Hmm.
right? And then she cancels that, right?
Yeah.
So finally, I get her to go on a dinner date with me, and I'm thinking, I got to tie this down, right? I can't let her
Hmm.
cancel again. So I did a bunch of things completely over the top, as you remember from the story. It's like,
Hmm.
you did this for a first date? He was insane,
Yep.
right? But I asked her, was I'm texting backwards and forwards. I said, "Oh yeah, by the way, what's your favorite flower?"
Hmm.
Right? And she goes,
Yep.
"Bird of paradise."
Yep.
So, I like to joke around. So I go, "Nuh-uh, mine too." It's a bit expensive though. So what's your second
Yeah.
favorite?
Yeah. Yep.
And she comes back instantly. Venus
Hmm.
Flytrap.
Yep.
So she named herself and titled the book in a second, right? But
Wow.
think about this. I would never have known that had
Hmm.
I not joked with her about it.
Yeah.
Because who
Yeah.
tells you what the second favorite flower is? Nobody, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
No.
And so I knew there and then that was a red flag. She's
Hmm.
this beautiful bird of paradise, but inside, she's a Venus flytrap.
Yes.
And
Hmm.
intuitively, I knew in that moment she was the Venus flytrap and I was the fly, right?
Hmm.
And throughout the book, it becomes a perfect metaphor because she was constantly trying to devour me. I was constantly trying to get away, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which makes it hilarious. The things we get up to is a lot of
Mhm.
it's very funny. Yeah.
Was it more of a competitive aspect for yourself where you were like, I'm going to take this as a challenge,
Yes, for
knowing that
me.
there's red
Yeah.
flags?
Yeah. And her too. She's more competitive than me, right? She
Yeah.
was ultra competitive, right? I mean, the
Hmm.
first time we go on a date, we're playing backgammon, and she was so
Yeah.
pissed I won the first two games. So she
Yep.
took a time out, right? She took a time
Hmm.
out. Took a time out,
Yeah.
came back and kicked my ass for the next three games, right? So she was very competitive. We both were, which also makes it hilarious too, right? Because we were
Hmm.
always vying for control, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Which is how we lived our lives because we both grew up. And this is how people misunderstand. They don't realize they're controlling because they don't think they're trying to be controlling, right?
Hmm.
What they think they're trying to do is protect themselves
Yep.
from other people controlling them. But the only way you can stop people from controlling you is to control them. And so
Hmm.
it's kind of like you got to think about that for a minute because just for a minute though, because if you think about it too much, you'll get stuck. But yeah, it's a defense mechanism, and it's from fear, right? Control
Hmm.
is fear, right? So we have both had this pattern of controlling to protect ourselves. But when you've got, uh, you know, um, an international supermodel who is an heiress to $1 billion fortune, who was raised with
Hmm.
that kind of money, she's used to getting whatever she wants, right? She was a
Yep.
brat. She was a brat, right? But
Hmm.
I love that about her. I love that about her, right? I wasn't looking for normal or whatever that is, right? I was looking for excitement and adventure. And she was the
Hmm.
epitome of that, right? You never knew what was going to happen.
Yep.
And she loved to party and have a good time. That's all she really wanted to do. So there was some pluses there. So in that way, we were a perfect match, which then explains a little bit more of, and I said this earlier, why I stayed in it because I was getting a lot out of it, right? So I'm living in a
Hmm.
mansion, right, with a sex room with a former international supermodel who's a sex addict.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
people are going, I understand why you didn't leave now, right? Of course,
Right.
right? And I was constantly saying, well, look, I got two choices here, right? I can break up with her and go back
Hmm.
to what was a relatively boring life, right?
Yeah.
Or I could put up with a little crazy and stay with her and have a
Hmm.
lot of fun, right? So I was
Hmm.
making that decision because I was getting a lot out of it until I wasn't, until eventually it was just like, I'm exhausted. I can't deal with this anymore. The
Hmm.
anxiety, the stress, it just
Yeah.
becomes too much. And you go, okay. And this is why the second book is called Enough is Never Enough.
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Enough is never enough because an addiction, you can't stop.
Hmm.
You can't stop until you do, until you make a decision. And then you can never go back, right?
Hmm.
And so in the end, when I let her go, I knew I could never go back, knowing that at some point she would come back.
Hmm.
Not because I'm supposed to go back, but it's a test. Are you ready? Are you healed? Are you past this? Because people used to say to me, man, that's crazy, right? So are you healed now? Are you done? And I go, I have no idea.
Right.
What do you mean you no idea? I said, well, how will I ever know until I'm faced with the same situation? Then I see how I react.
Hmm.
Well, as luck would have it, I'm writing this book, right? So I'm thinking about her all the time. And I'm going, don't think about it.
Oh.
If you're thinking about it, she's going to be back. And of course,
Hmm.
she came back.
Yeah.
But doing the same things that you became familiar with by reading that book. And
Hmm.
now it was so apparent. I wasn't even
Yeah.
tempted. I was like,
Hmm.
I'm not that person anymore. That person has died,
Wow.
right? I had to grieve their death and
Hmm.
embrace the new person that I've become as a result of those experiences, giving gratitude to her for that, loving her for that, but not needing or wanting to have her back in my life.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's such a
Just one
great
last, one
point.
last thing I want to add to that
Oh,
is
sure.
that doesn't mean I'm completely healed
Oh,
by
yes, sir. Oh,
any
yeah.
stretch of the imagination, right? We still got a lot of work to do. And it doesn't necessarily mean I'm completely healed about her either, because she will come back again and see
Hmm.
if I'm still in that space, right? So you're going to be tested. You just got to be
Hmm.
aware of that. It's like a drug addict, right? You can break the addiction, but if you go back in the same environment, you're probably going to go back to using again, right?
Hmm.
Until you can be in a situation where everyone's shooting up and you don't even want it. You're
Yeah.
not even tempted anymore. But that's a process. That's a
Hmm.
process.
Yeah. And definitely you mentioned kind of writing the book, reliving it, and just you have all those feelings. And of course, then you go through the editing process and it's like, crap, I got to go through these heartbreaks again and these memories again. And then what, wait till you get to the audiobook and you have to go through the whole audiobook again. And you're like,
I'm
oh
just
no.
starting that now, man. That's so
Yeah,
hilarious.
it's,
I just said to myself, I've been talking about it, talking about it. I said, you got to help me. You got to get all of it set up. So all I need to do is just come in and say it. But yes, I'm going to relive it again. And I've read that book. I have read it so many times.
yes.
And I love the book. It's an amazing story, but you're right. You're putting the thoughts of her in there, electromagnetic energy. You're
Hmm.
gonna pull it in, right?
Yes.
So yeah, you're right. And what you also said, which is so true, man. You start out, and I'm writing a story. How hard
Hmm.
can that be, right? I'm just
Right.
telling the story, right? It happened, and then you realize, damn, there's a lot more to write in a book than you realize, right?
Hmm.
Like the whole publishing
Yes.
side, all the facets. You have no idea when you're writing a
Yeah.
book that all this is gonna come out. You're thinking, wait a minute, this is sucking up a lot of time. I had no idea it was going to be this challenging, but I went through it. And what did that say? It said that you're committed
Hmm.
to the process and you're committed to putting it out there. And the more challenges you go through to do that, the more you realize, well, yeah, this is something I really, really want. I really do
Hmm.
desire to put this out there, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to do that.
Hmm.
I experienced that before, when I wanted to go work with Tony Robbins. That was not easy, man. I went through all kinds of challenges and obstacles that most people would say, yeah, it's probably not meant to be.
Hmm.
And you can say that. And if you don't do it, then it wasn't meant to be. It's true. But
Yeah.
if you say, no, I'm going to, it's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you pick yourself up, right? But you won't
Hmm.
keep picking yourself up unless it's something you really, really want. But
Hmm.
by going through those challenges and getting what you really, really want, then you have a sense of accomplishment and you know what you're capable of, right? So if I can do this, what else can I do? And so it sets you up to knock down these challenges and learn how to manifest what you really want consistently, right? Which I've been able
Hmm.
to do in my life. So yeah, it's all interesting.
Yeah.
It's all connected.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's a great accomplishment because I mean, like you said, you've written several books in the past for your business. This is more heartfelt, and this is, like I said, putting that fictional spin on it, just to protect the innocent, because yeah, or the guilty, whoever's out there.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, it's very it exposes you.
hmm.
You're putting your real self out there. And I say in the book, listen, I know there's going to be a lot of people going to vilify me for putting this out, that it was wrong, that it's too explicit in certain situations. It's, talking about different things in ways that are going to piss people off, right? And I
Yeah,
say,
I'm not one of those people.
no,
I
right, yeah,
commend you.
exactly. Which is, if you were, you wouldn't have read the whole book, right? Um,
Right.
but I say, the truth will set you free.
Hmm.
But first, it'll probably piss you off. So I say, if you're pissed off right now, congratulations, you're on your way to freedom, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Right? Because you get to look at things in a way, even if you haven't been through it yourself. And a lot of people tell me they have. They say, I went through a toxic relationship, or I've been this or that or the other. And it just makes you realize how many people there are that go through this that feel alone, right?
Hmm.
And I did.
Yeah.
I did because you think no one can understand, which most people can't, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, they say, how could you let this happen? And I go, well, I didn't feel like I had any choice. It just seemed to happen. People go, oh, no.
Hmm.
But it did because it was meant to. It
Yeah.
didn't happen to me, it happened for me.
Hmm.
However, the difference for me is that I had 30 years experience of personal and spiritual development. So it was a lot easier for me after the fact to process it and make sense of it all. Not
Hmm.
everybody has those tools. Not everybody's learned all those things. And so that's why I reach out to people and say, look, another reason why it happened for me is so I can help other people going through it because I can now
Hmm.
relate. I'm not going to look at you like, well, you're an idiot. I mean, I was an idiot, but I mean, an idiot in terms of you keep going back or you get
Hmm.
into it. It's happening so you can learn some things. So don't beat yourself up about it, right? Because
Yep.
people do, they say, oh my God, I'm so ridiculous. And then they say, and I'm broken. I
Hmm.
say, really? Well, can you send me some photographs of where the breaks are just
Yeah.
specifically? I can probably get you help with that.
Yeah. Show me in the heart where it's broken right there.
Exactly. And they go, what? It's a pattern interrupt, right? And I
Yeah.
go, yeah, you're not broken. You just think you're broken, or you might
Hmm.
feel like you've been dragged through the hedge backwards 4 times and run over in a car, but you're not broken. You're a
Hmm.
whole. You're a whole spirit, a whole being. All we're going to do is just look at some of the patterns that were created
Hmm.
when you were a child, not to you, but for you, so you
Yep.
could experience these challenges. And by challenge, every growth we experience has to be met with resistance.
Hmm.
Can't have growth without. You want to work out? You want to get strong arms? You got to go work out. And you got to be able to push past that resistance, which can be painful, right? Same thing with every part of our life. You want to learn how to go do something, you probably have to go to college, you go somewhere to learn. And it's not like you get up every day and go, I can't wait to go to class, right? It's
Hmm.
tough, it's challenging. But that resistance you experience gives you something you're not born with. Almost everything we're born with, but we're not born with resilience,
Yes.
right? You know that from the military, right? You
Hmm.
have to earn it. You have to go through it. You have to, Sergeant Major said, you got to pick it up again. Let's go, right? And then you just go,
Yeah.
shit, okay, right? Because if
Yeah.
that probably hadn't happened, imagine the Sergeant Major comes up, how you feeling? You okay? Do you need to sit
Right.
out for a minute? You'll be fine. Drink some water. That's not going to work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe in the military nowadays, I've heard things, but
Have you
they
really?
might be like, "Oh, it's
Oh, don't get
okay.
me
Don't worry.
worried, man. No, 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 no.
We need to bring back the hazing. That's what we loved, and it worked
I
good
have
for
a
us."
challenge with that, but I understand it now. I understand it now, but I didn't for a long time. I'm like, why are you doing that? But it's not easy to go through. And in hazing, you
Hmm.
are alone, and other people are laughing at you, and you are being
Yeah.
humiliated, and that's not easy to take. But once you
Hmm.
can do that, then no one's going to hurt you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's
And
not that's not very readily conveyed when you see them doing it, right? They're going through that. What the
right.
hell? Yeah.
I know. Yeah, because I mean, you were talking about the toxic relationships, and of course, going through the book and just, learning your story and Tomas, and just it was a great. Oh, I love the humor that you put in there, and you even started it off saying, about the humor. I'm like, I'm right there with you. This is great, but and I kind of would reflect on some of my own past experiences, and I was a little younger, out of the military, and I thought about it. I was like, maybe I was the toxic part of that relationship. And especially when she said, "Oh, yeah, I've been talking to my therapist about you." And I was like, and instead of going, "Oh, that's horrible," I was like, send somebody to therapy. That wasn't a good thing to do. But that was where I was at. And I was like, I think I was the toxic one. Why was I doing that? But it didn't last long, obviously. So she was a
But
lot older than
here's the
me.
thing,
So,
though. Actually, you're right. because it's
Yeah.
a mirror
Hmm.
and it's mirroring your toxicity.
Yeah.
The things that are making you toxic that are
Hmm.
simply patterns. You're not aware of it. You don't even realize you've created these patterns, which is why I call them transparent beliefs.
Hmm.
Where they're there, we look right past them, right? Um,
Yeah.
but I even say that, and I say that more than anything, so people don't judge, right? If you say they're the toxic one, you're a
Hmm.
victim again. You're a victim again, right? But these things and these patterns that you are not living, or you're judging, or you're um, not prepared to embrace in yourself, that makes you toxic, right?
Hmm.
And so the toxicity being reflected back at you. Um, so again, it's not happening to you, it's happening for you. So you don't have to be that way anymore, right? So you learn the
Hmm.
lessons that you need to learn, and then we all move on. And then it's not like, the universe creates this or God creates this for you, this opportunity. And it's like when you've healed, it's not like, well, I'm going to keep reminding you about that. It's
Hmm.
over. It's
Yeah.
done. There's nothing else to know. No judgment, no punishment. It's just wow, we
Hmm.
got rid of that. Great, you know.
Hmm.
Now in a couple of years, I'm going to take you to the next level. So don't,
Yeah.
stay awake. Yeah.
We'll be ready, definitely. But one thing I was when I in the book right at the beginning, you were mentioning your magic number, your
Yeah.
special number of
Yeah.
23. I
Yeah.
went through the whole damn book. What is it? What's the significance there?
Oh man, that's so amazing that you would ask me that. Oh my gosh. That's intense, man. That is
Hmm.
intense. Yeah. Wow. Amazing you would ask me that. Nobody else has asked me that because they forget. But yeah. So this is going back to when I came back from working with Tony Robbins.
Hmm.
You want to talk about burnout. That guy is intense, right? You can
Yeah.
imagine, right? You can
Hmm.
imagine my lifestyle going out and promoting and all that stuff. So I was burned out and I came back and I went to stay with my former wife.
Hmm.
Yeah. That we lived in Tampa and she was still living in Tampa. So I went back there and so she said, now what are you going to do? And I said, I really don't know. I said, I want to do something that, has impact. And so anyway, I said, I want to do, use the personal development and da, da, da. So she said, well, what are you going to call the business? So I don't know. So I sat down with a dictionary, right? And I
Hmm.
started to come up with words that I wanted. And so I came up with the title Principled Solutions, Inc. And so I showed her and she
Hmm.
said, it sounds more like a software company. I mean, yeah, you're right. Yeah. But I
Hmm.
do like the letters PSI, right?
Hmm.
So I said, well, how could we call it PSI? So I'm start looking in the dictionary, right? And so first, obviously, you found pounds per square inch, right? PSI.
Hmm. Yep.
But then right above it, it says PSI in like italics, and it says the 23rd letter of the Greek alphabet,
Oh.
psi, right?
Hmm.
So then I go, okay, right? And then uh, I was telling a friend of mine, now this is, if you really make notes on this, my friend's name was Mary, right? She
Hmm.
worked for a company, AT&T. Oh,
Okay.
AT&T Communications, right? Wireless communication, right? Her name is Mary, working for AT&T Wireless Communications, right? I call her up and I said, hey, I think I've got the name for my company. She goes, what is it? I said, well, I'm going to call it PSI. And she said, "Oh, okay. Do you know what it means?" And I said, "No." She said, "Well, go find, go look it up so at least you know the meaning of it and see if it has a symbol, right, that you could use for your
Hmm.
logo, right?"
Yes.
Okay. So the next day I go to Barnes and Noble. It's early in the morning. It was in November, right? I know the date and everything, right? So I go into Barnes and Noble and I said, it's Greek, right? So I go, can you tell me?
Hmm.
So first of all, I goes, can you tell me I want to look in a dictionary, right? So I go to
Hmm.
the dictionary and I pick up the dictionary I had was an Oxford dictionary from England. So I went and look
Yes.
at Webster's. Under Webster's, psi means all parapsychological and psychic phenomenon combined.
Hmm.
All
Oh.
harmonious
Okay.
sounds combined, right? Oh, that's pretty deep, right? That would be perfect.
Hmm.
So then I go to, because it's Greek, and I've been looking for books by a guy called Joseph Campbell. Don't know if you've ever heard of Joseph. So he writes about mythology. I didn't know that. I just read a quote of his in the back of one of Tony's workbooks called Date with Destiny. Right? And so I go to, and I'd always look for him in personal development because I had hundreds and hundreds of books in personal development. Tony's in personal development. I thought he must be in personal development. So I asked him, because this is a Greek letter, I said, well, can you tell me where Greek mythology is, right? So she shows me, and it's like this low shelf with like three or four shelves, and there's all these books by Joseph Campbell. I'm like, I found him, like he was lost, right?
Yeah.
So I pick up one of his books. It's called Myths to Live By. And whenever I'm going to buy a book, I always usually open the book arbitrarily to see if there's something there that I find, pulling or interesting or profound. And in there, he says that it's not the perfection we love in other people, it's the imperfection.
Right.
He says, who would want to live with someone who's perfect? How boring would that be, right? And I thought, wow, that makes me feel better about my imperfection, right? So then, and I used to write, and I still do write, this poetry. I call it soultry, right? And I hadn't written
Yes.
any of that. So I thought, well, I'll get a book on poetry. Maybe that'll inspire me. I look around, and there's this poetry book entitled A Poem a Day, right? I could read a poem a day, right? So I open the dictionary up, and I read a poem. And I go, okay, so I put that on the top of the bookshelf, right? And then I pick up this Myths to Live By, and I think I'm going to read that. And I turn, and I knocked the book that was on the shelf on the floor, and it fell open. Meanwhile, I'm in Joseph Campbell's book, and I see this poem called The Second Coming. And I read it, and I can't make any sense of that, but okay. Then I turn around, I pick up the book that's on the floor, and it was a poem for every day of the year. So it fell open on December the 25th. Now, what poem do you think was there? The Second Coming.
Probably.
The
Wow.
freaking poem. Now, if I'd have come into that store and said to the assistant, listen, I need to find this poem, I need to find it in two separate books. They go, yeah, no, we're not going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Chances are billions to one, right? And so what led me there? PSI, Psi, the 23rd letter of the Greek alphabet.
There you go.
And so that became a number that would just show up in my life unbelievable amount of times, always, every day, multiple times, in relationships, when I'd meet people, all the time. And what that is your number is just there to remind you that you're safe. God's got you, right? You're safe. It's not saying, turn left, turn right. It's just a reminder, right? And so that's my reminder, which is why I put that on my license. It's why it's on my email. My email is
right.
23@me.com, right? So that's my number. So that's a little shortened version of the story. But if you think about it, just break that down. What was the name of the lady that told me to go to the store? Mary. What is the name of the author of the book? Joseph. Mary and Joseph.
Yeah.
Second Coming, right? Now, I can go on about that because it wasn't necessarily saying that Jesus is going to save you, right? But it's saying the vibration, the energy, the message, right? Is definitely a myth to live by, right? And it was a time when it was perfect for me to experience that. And the book that I saw his quote in is called Date with Destiny. There's a lot of messages there, right? A lot of profound messages, right? And the company that Mary worked for was AT&T Wireless Communications.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I'm going kind of spin it off a little bit. Hopefully you don't look back on the number 23 and go, that damn Pat Riley screwed it all up for me. I'm a big Bulls fan. Michael Jordan, number 23.
Jordan, yes, of course, man. And I'm a huge soccer fan. And so when I had my store in Tampa, I think Jordan stuff was about 70% of my business.
Yeah.
Amazing he was, right? What a miracle he was. I mean, just a now, not taking anything away from him, that guy worked his ass off, right? I mean, he
Yeah.
was always training more than anybody else, even though he was the
Hmm.
best in the world. He was such a workaholic. And also, the greatest soccer player, maybe not in history, but in probably recent times, was Beckham, right?
Yes. Hmm.
And what number was his? 23.
There you go. All right.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a powerful number. I actually did try and sue them for taking my number, but it didn't work.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say a couple weeks ago, I did work with Messi. He was in town. Um,
Oh, really? You did
yeah,
seriously? Oh my
yeah,
God, man,
yeah,
what a gift that is, right?
yeah. Yeah, I do security for the Broncos. So
Okay.
he sold out Mile High Stadium, which so I had to work security there. I was like, crap. But yeah, I get myself into a lot of different little side gigs, and I did one last night at the Rockies, so I was down there. But funny story, when I was driving home, I I never like to drive from point A to point B by myself, so I just turn on a Lyft app and I pick people up.
Okay.
So it's a nice way to, meet people. And I've got business cards. I pass out my business card for the book all the time and whatever
Yeah, yeah.
crazy
Smart.
idea I have, and we talk. But yeah, the girl I was talking to last night, driving her home, and she's like freaking out on me already. Like, oh my gosh, my life's changing. I don't know if I'm going in the right direction. But she's a traveling nurse and she's leaving for St. Pete today, from Denver to St. Pete. And I'm like, come on. I'm talking to somebody tomorrow that's, was met a
Yeah.
girl from St.
Yeah, from the
Pete.
book, yeah.
Yeah, I gave her a card right away. I'm like, I'm talking to this guy tomorrow. You got to listen to the podcast. Here you go.
Oh,
Um, but of course she was concerned. And of course, I think I didn't get her to her destination. I had to turn around because I think I talked her into going back with that individual. So yeah, she was mentioning, she's like, what should I do? I've already bought her a plane ticket and this and that. I'm like, oh my gosh. I was like, just if you already got the ticket, of course I'm rational in that respect, going, well, if you already got the ticket, you got to go. Can't stop it. She's like, okay, turn around.
ah!
Yeah, I turned her around and I dropped her back off at her original destination. I was like, are you
Oh,
kidding me? And then I had another ride, took me closer to home. And that was a great conversation as well. But usually I don't like the conversations late at night. I try to get a conversation earlier in the day, but
yeah, yeah.
it's a
But
good way
they've
to
both
work.
got to be interesting though, because even the people you pick up late, they've got stories too, right?
Oh my
Like that,
gosh.
yeah.
Yeah, the second woman, she was a little louder, but and in the book I'm completing right now, it's more nonfiction. It's on intermittent fasting. So I'm trying to get that
Oh
complete so I
yeah,
can get
good
that
stuff.
out.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and you were talking a lot about that in your story as well, of eating clean and just change your life. But it's so important because I feel so much better now. Mind's clear, and I've just lost a lot of weight.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but it's
Awesome.
it's
Awesome, man.
it's
Yeah.
getting there. But yeah, it's
All connected, man. You got to take care of the mind, the body, and the spirit.
hmm
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. But I had to ask because another thing I was listening today, because I always heard about this, and I kind of, not that I live by it, but have you ever heard of the hot crazy matrix? Have
Yes,
you
it's
heard about
freaking
that?
hilarious.
I
I used to
know,
watch that video. I sent it to everybody I know. It's
I know.
hilarious.
I mean,
Hilarious.
you're pegged right at the top.
Oh,
That's the way I
absolutely.
kind of.
100%, man. Yeah.
It's like, but so you're just like, okay, I'm safe, but no,
No, you're not. No, you're not.
you're never safe because you just never know where they're going to pop up next. And it's like, okay, they could be on this part of the chart, they can be on that part of the chart, just for the crazy
That's a
line
very
because they.
controversial little shot there, my friend. Women tend not to like it, but it's
No,
freaking true. It's true. It's
it is
right on,
true.
right? And that guy
I,
just standing there looking
yeah,
happy with the board behind him.
I know.
I love
I
it.
have I have two boys, and I've always told them this, and they kind of live by it. All women are crazy. I love it. I love them
And I
all, but
hate
they're
it when you
just
say that. And I have to
yeah.
now, so you've read the book. So
Hmm.
you know from the book, when I used to call her crazy, she used to go crazy because she knew she's
Hmm.
crazy, right? And
Yeah,
she didn't like it. So and but then if I'm telling this story, and I got to be very careful because if I start out, well, I met this crazy girl, then women are going, oh, all women are
yeah,
crazy. But I go, no, 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 this chick was really freaking crazy. Let me tell you.
yeah.
So
Hmm.
anyway, yeah, that's pretty funny. But
Right.
but here's the thing: women are different than men, right? They think
Hmm.
differently. They
Oh
got
yes.
completely different minds and obviously bodies.
Hmm.
So we can think women are crazy when they're not actually. But she actually is crazy. I mean, actually, more so than even the book explains so far, because we
Hmm.
get into the mental illness in book two,
Hmm.
and she actually has an incurable disease,
Mm.
mental disease, right? Which I didn't even know there
Yeah.
was an incurable mental disease, but there is. Um, but finding that out actually made me have more compassion for her, right?
Hmm.
I should have probably just gone, well, that's it then, right? But
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
right? Oh, well, it's not her fault, right? So
Yeah.
anyway, yes,
Hmm.
to some extent, I have to agree, having been through four marriages, even though they happened for me, they did have their craziness too.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, you mentioned, so was it bipolar, or because you mentioned that in the book that you are
Yeah,
bipolar.
when I was
Hmm.
16, I was diagnosed as being manic depressive, which today is called bipolar. That's correct.
Okay. Okay. And then so is she bipolar as well? Is that because I kind of was seeing those trends?
Yeah, right. But they were exaggerated, right? So what
Okay. Yes.
she has, and spoiler alert, if you don't want to know this is before you read book two, turn the
Hmm.
volume down. But she has something called borderline personality disorder,
Mm. Okay.
which is almost every possible mental illness you can think of. So it's got narcissism, it's got
Hmm.
bipolar, it has some schizophrenia, it's
Hmm.
like, it's everything all in one. And there is no cure for it. I mean,
Hmm.
literally, there is no cure for it.
Yeah.
And most therapists won't even take on someone with borderline personality disorder as a patient, right?
Mm.
Because of the legal issues that can happen with people. Because, she wanted to be arrested all the time and they're so
Hmm.
up and down. There's a movie, actually, it's a pretty good movie. It's called Welcome to Me.
Okay.
And it's with Wiig, Kirsten
Yeah.
Wiig, uh,
Hmm.
and it's actually produced by another famous comedian. Anyway, it's pretty hilarious, but it's absolutely true that
Hmm.
people with these kind of mental illnesses, and I could do this as well on certain when I get certain levels of high, um, that you can manifest anything, and you have
Hmm.
literally superpowers. And part of it is, again, it's a gift and a curse, right? So when you can get that high, you can actually get to higher levels of consciousness. I mean, really.
Hmm.
And so what happened to me in that occasion when I was 16 and again later in life, that I actually was having a spiritual awakening. And I can still remember things about it. We were just incredible. Um, but you don't stay there, right? And there's a consequence to it, right?
Hmm.
And I also had at one time in my life an experience called Satori, which is instant awakening. I became enlightened,
Hmm.
which is amazing, and it was fun. But you don't stay there. You don't
Hmm.
stay in that energy. You don't stay in that vibration. Everything is on a wave, right? You come in and out.
Yep.
And if you listen and read all the books and all the speeches that the deities made, they came in and out as well.
Hmm.
They weren't constantly on that level. There'd be times when they would speak and they'd be on a lower level, right?
Hmm.
So, like, you want to use Jesus as an example, right? Some of the things he said are profound and obviously at a high level of consciousness. And then you'd hear him about, throwing all the stuff around for the when he went to meet the Pharisees. Well, that's a different level of consciousness, right? Doesn't mean they're right
Hmm.
or wrong. It's just different experience, different level of awareness. So, so don't think, and I would just say, look, what's the famous saying is, this too shall pass.
Hmm.
The worst of times and the best of times. And as I
Yep.
use that quote many times in the book from Charles Dickens, right? They were the
Hmm.
best of times, they were the worst of times, but they were the times of our lives, right? You got to
Absolutely.
take the up with the down, you know? And part of that experience with me and Tamaz was me being prepared to accept the dark side of my nature.
Hmm.
We all have a light side, we all have a dark side, right? We all got to do shadow work. It's all there. And so when you can embrace both sides, that is also going to give you a sense of freedom, right? Because you can truly love yourself. If you can't love that part of you, then nobody else is going to.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. Wow. Yeah, that's I'm telling you, yeah, the just relationships and trying to navigate life and having just the external forces acting on you. Like, I just want to survive. I just want to have fun
Yeah.
and move forward in my life. And but at the same time, you just can't be lonely. You need to be able to bring in outside forces, and
Yeah.
of course, women are the greatest in that respect to help us hold on and set our
Yeah.
course. But yeah, it's I'm telling you, that was I went through your journey. I'm looking forward to the next one. You gotta tell me when that's out, and I'll definitely, like I said, I'll order this one for sure. So
Right.
it's
Well, yeah, we'll get through that one. I mean, the book two is
yeah,
out. The book two is out. We just launched
mhm.
it, right? And there's a book three, by the way, just so you know. And
Okay,
maybe a book four that is writing itself right now. So what do I mean?
perfect.
What do I mean by that? Just a little teaser, right? So
Hmm.
book three is almost written. It is written in terms of it happened. Everything has already happened for book three. Book four is because she's back.
Oh
She's come
no,
back into my life.
oh
So
no.
or trying to get back into my life, right?
Hmm.
So what I have done is nothing, no responses, nothing, which is frustrating the hell out of it. That's not my intention. My intention is to look to say, not every ship you come across is one you have to take.
Hmm.
Just let it
Yes.
sail by. Because the moment I say anything, the moment I respond, well, that's what she
Hmm.
knows. And then it'll go from there, as it happened in the book, right? So and it's not easy for me to do that per se, because there's part of me that goes, well, isn't that rude? Don't you suppose, you suppose, but that's part of my old self.
Hmm.
For the new self is saying, no, I'm taking care of myself, right?
Yeah.
Making sure that I don't go back down that road again. Because once I say anything, anything I say can
Hmm.
will be used to devour me, right?
Exactly. It's like the Venus flytrap. That was something. I love your other analogy in there, about the frog and the scorpion.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Just yeah, and of course, I always think about the frog in the boiling water because if
Yeah,
you
yeah.
just
It just
touch
falls
it,
asleep. It falls asleep, yeah.
yeah, it's just like you just get lulled and then that's
Mhm.
over. So cool. Well, Stephen, I want to promote not just the book, but also you do have your coaching and counseling as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So I want to promote that. So we've got VFT23.com for the book. It's on Amazon as well. But could you tell me a little more about coaching and counseling and
Yeah.
what you have to offer?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I've done spiritual counseling for a long time, right?
Hmm.
My focus right now is the coaching around the book, what the book is about, toxic relationships, right?
Yes.
Which also, if you go to the website, you can get a free guide of how to know if you're in a toxic relationship, right? There's seven
Hmm.
signs, right? So that's also for free. Um, and so the coaching, yeah, people say, what do you do in coaching? It really depends, right? Because the
Yeah.
first thing I do is get to know someone and
Hmm.
identify, A, do we have a connection? Do we have, a vibe, whatever you
Hmm.
want to call it, right? That we feel we could work together. I'm looking for people who are committed to the process, right? Not just
Hmm.
going to play around because I tell people right out the gate, and I'll tell you right now, it's not going to be easy. I
Hmm.
can't change you. I can give you the tools that you can change yourself, right?
Hmm.
But you're the one that's going to have to do the work. And if you're looking to get to a place where someone's going to heal you, you're never going to find that person because they don't exist, right?
Hmm.
This is your journey and this is your opportunity to find the parts of yourself that maybe you're lost or don't even think you have. People say, God gave me strength. I go, listen, you got to be careful what you ask for because God's already
Hmm.
given you the strength.
Yeah.
God's already given you the courage. Everything you will ever need is within you right now. So if
Hmm.
God's given you everything and you're asking God to give you something you already have, what is the only choice God has but to put
Hmm.
you in a situation or a circumstance where you have to pull that out of yourself, right?
Yep.
So, uh, and so if you come to any, I believe anybody that's going to give you counseling, they're going to help you discover and own those parts of yourself that you're not using to become who
Hmm.
you really are. Now, we could get into that's a whole different conversation. Who are you really? Because I don't even know who I really am. We got to discover that. Um,
Hmm.
but that's what life is about. It's remembering, coming back to a member of the
Hmm.
whole, remembering who you really are. So every life event, every experience, every relationship, and everything is a relationship. You have a
Hmm.
relationship with yourself. You have a relationship with your parents, you have a relationship with your siblings, you have a relationship with your extended family, you have a relationship with your career, your job, your friends.
Mhm.
You have a relationship with money, right?
Yeah.
And these patterns are repeating themselves in all these different areas of your life. So you change one pattern, it will change all your relationships and how you
Hmm.
show up and how they work or don't work in your life. So I call myself a heartist because the ultimate goal is to get into our heart and out of our mind.
Hmm.
It doesn't mean being in an asylum like I was, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't mean going out of your mind that far. But what it means is, and I have a poem. I'm not going to read that right now. It's probably not time. But there's an amazing poem. It's by the Yupik elders that says we live in a reverse society.
Mm-hmm.
That we used to teach how to live, and now we teach people how to make a living.
Hmm. Yes. Oh.
Yeah, we used to respect our elders, and now we honor youth.
Hmm.
It used to be that our heart told our mind what to think.
Hmm.
Now everything is in the mind.
Yeah.
Only the heart lives in the present. The
Hmm.
mind is always in the past or the future.
Yeah.
And so
Oh.
it says, that we used to live from the heart and now we live from the mind. And so what it's saying is we live in the reverse society. And the
Hmm.
only way out of this mess is to get back to our heart.
Hmm.
Your heart is your home.
Hmm.
And
There you go.
the ancients always used to say, live from your heart,
Hmm.
speak from your heart. If something is true, it will be heartfelt. Now, what does that mean? Well, everything is vibration. Every
Hmm.
word you speak is a vibratory field of energy. Now, your heart is your CIA. It's your Central Intelligence Agency.
Hmm.
So if someone lies to you, they say those words, your heart knows instantly
Yeah.
because of the vibration of the words. And when someone says a lie, part of their subconscious knows that and it changes the vibration of what they say.
Hmm.
Now, how long would it take you to figure that out mentally? You may never figure it out. You may never know. You might get lied to all the time and get cheated on and all that stuff. Whereas your heart won't let that happen. If you listen to it and you listen to it and it talks to you through your intuition.
Hmm.
So the conscious evolution of humanity is dependent on us getting back to our home, our heart, and living from the heart, speaking from the heart, and recognizing recognition if something is true, because it
Hmm.
will be heartfelt. So that's reversing what we currently have, right? So
Yep.
what's happening right now in our world is you look out of the world, the external reflection of our inner world. How the hell do you know if anything is true anymore? You don't.
Hmm.
People are trying to find certainty outside of themselves and they can't. There's a reason. The reason is
Yeah.
it's not out there. It's in you. You already have
Hmm.
it. You don't need to ask somebody if this is true or ask somebody else if it's true or, all this stuff that people are trying to do to get certainty. You've got to go back within. So you either go within or you go
Hmm.
without. I mean, I don't know if you phrase, but so you've got all the tools to have the power of discernment. You don't need to find it on Facebook or Instagram or any of those places. Not those places are inherently bad. It's like a
Hmm.
computer. You can do good things on a computer. You can do destructive things on a computer, right? So
Yep.
none of these things are inherently good or bad. It all depends on how you use them and how you think about them.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, and it's so true because I've had this happen many times where I'll work with somebody and they keep bringing up the past. It's like, can
Yeah.
we not just get that away and look at what we're doing now?
Yes.
And I'm kind of I work in IT, so I'm very logically set
Yes.
up.
Sure.
And then I formulate a plan going point A to point B, and I create it real quick.
Yeah.
But I know that other people might just be dragging their feet and like I said, just kind of looking in that past,
Yeah.
pull it from your heart and move
Yeah.
forward with that.
Yeah. I mean, you got to look at the past a little bit because you can learn from
Hmm.
it. But you don't live in it.
Exactly.
Live it, like you said, some people live in it, right?
Hmm.
You know, and they live on their past successes. but nobody
Hmm.
cares. Nobody cares. You know, I had a lady that she was a Miss something. Oh yeah, Miss Wisconsin, 1972. So that was her
Hmm.
email address. I'm like, that was in 1972. Come on, girl, right?
Right.
You know. So don't live in the past. Use it as a reference, right?
Hmm.
Because we do want to look at the past in terms of where the pattern started,
Hmm.
then not stay there, right? And not go into victimhood, but say, this is what happened when I was a kid. I know it happened for me. I didn't know it then, but how is this affecting me today? And how do we change that
Hmm.
pattern, right? And then move forward. Let it go. You can let it go then because it no longer, you no longer have to keep having that experience because it doesn't serve you anymore.
Hmm.
And I've
Yeah,
seen that
absolutely.
happen. Like it's like a miracle, man. When I have healed something, then that kind of situation or that person the experience won't show up again. It'll just be gone like miraculously because there's no point of it anymore. There's no purpose to it anymore. And if you're having
Hmm.
conflict with an individual, could be a family member, once you heal that, that relationship will change forever. You won't
Hmm.
have that, that conflict anymore. It will just disappear because now it's served its purpose. There's no reason for it to be there anymore. And I've had that with, family members, my parents, my siblings. Um, And what a blessing, now to have a good relationship with them, right? That I never
Hmm.
had most of my life. So, yeah, I didn't have, and we talked about this in the book, right? It says I didn't have a relationship with
Hmm.
my dad and a bridge to nowhere and all that. Well, since then, my mom passed away. In
Hmm.
fact, yesterday was the third anniversary of her passing.
Okay.
And I spent the day with her at her um, burial place, right?
Hmm.
We have a bench there. So I spent the day and I just went through my entire life with her. And she was there with me, right? And we went through it
Oh,
together.
absolutely.
Laughed and, I could
Yeah.
see her laughing in my mind's eye and, and
Hmm.
times that she was really pissed with me, we laughed about all that. Stephen, right? Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so the past can be helpful. The past can be you want to have memories.
Hmm.
There's a really powerful movie that I would recommend anybody watch. It's called Wind River.
Hmm.
It's with Jeremy Renner, and who I think is a great actor. But he lives out in one of the very cold parts of the country with the snow all the time, and he is kind of like a hunter. He actually uh, culls animals that have become a problem for farmers, right? That they have to cull now.
Hmm.
So
Yes.
anyway, and he has an experience with his daughter is lost and murdered, and that he and his wife really can't get past it. But also, what happens in the story is this young Native American, and I know you're not supposed to use that now, but anyway, a Native American young woman, she's a woman, who is attacked by a group of men, and she runs
Hmm.
away. And they stab her, and so she ends up dying from the blood in her lungs. Very, very painful death. Terrible.
Hmm.
And her father is a Native American Indian chief. So at one point, Jeremy Renner goes over to the house of the father, and he's in a real mess in the front garden. He's trying to, find himself through sort of some Indian meditations. And he goes over to see him, and he's very angry, as you can imagine, right?
Hmm.
And so Jeremy Renner is talking to him, and he said, he's trying to distract himself. The father's trying to distract himself from thinking about her.
Hmm.
And Jeremy Renner says, look, man, you got to go into the pain.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, all the memories you have with her are gone. All the
Hmm.
fond memories you have of her as a child and as she was growing up, you can no longer go there because it'll be too painful. So you
Hmm.
got to go through the pain, man. You got to go through
Yeah.
the pain. And on the other side is everything you want, right? Powerful, right? Just powerful. Just an
Hmm.
amazing lesson there in a movie that so many people need to hear so they can remember their loved ones, right? And what they
Hmm.
went through rather than being afraid of the pain, right? And going into it, suffering through that, and then being able to think of them again for the rest of your life.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So true. So true. Yeah. So, and then you mentioned your father. Is he still in Florida
Yeah,
with
so
you, or
we're
is he?
yeah. So we have a great time now. We see each other every
Oh,
week, right?
awesome.
Yeah. So every Sunday
Mhm.
tomorrow, right? We go to watch soccer together. English, we call it football in
Yeah.
England, but it's
Yeah. Oh,
soccer,
yeah.
right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. And so we have a good time, So we see each other at least once, if not two or three times a week.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. Yeah.
And I would
That's
have
something.
said, just on what you're saying there, Patrick,
Mhm.
just and you see it in the book, I would have said that's never going to happen, right?
Right.
But you just never know. You never
Never
know.
know. Yeah, is building that bond back up and understanding what happened in the past, trying to
Yeah.
get away from that, but
Yeah.
building on it because we're only here for just so long, and then no sense in just throwing it all out. You have to be able to build
Yeah.
that relationship back up, and yeah, that's a
Yeah.
perfect
And he
point.
became open to that, you see. Once my mother
Hmm.
passed,
Hmm.
he became open to that, right? Whereas before he hadn't been, and he never knew me, and I never really knew him either, right? So
Hmm.
one of the silver linings, not that I would want my mom to pass, but one of the silver linings from that happening is that we built a great relationship now, and we
Hmm.
appreciate and value and love each other, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, well, I was gonna say, Stephen, it's been just a pleasure talking to you today. I'm really excited about this. And of course, me being in technology, I'm like, all right, I know the next steps I'll have to do to get this published. I'll get this out here. But of course, in the back of my mind, I know technology. And I'm like, I better record. It's recorded. It's the recording still here. So we're good. We're good. Because it's such a great conversation. I'm going to relive
Yeah,
this one. So,
yeah,
and what I'll do is I'll include your links in there. So, of course, VFT23.com. Of course, I'll post everything on any of the
yeah,
shorts and the long form, any coaching, and of course, when I'm down in Florida, I do have your number.
yeah,
they shot
yeah,
me their number,
absolutely.
so
I'll come
I'll
down.
send you my number as well, just so you can
Osprey,
have
right? You
that.
got
So,
family in Osprey? Osprey.
my best friend's in Osprey, my
Yeah,
son's in Northport, so family's in
yeah, yeah,
Northport.
yeah. Yeah,
But
yeah.
I've got so many friends in was it Medina Beach, Madeira Beach.
Oh, Madeira Beach. Yeah,
Um,
okay.
yeah, Madeira Beach, Treasure Island. They're all over the place.
Yeah,
It's like,
Treasure Island, St. Pete. Yeah.
yeah, eventually I'll get my second home down there. I still need a summer home here in Colorado. Get the second
Yeah.
one down in Florida. I think they
Yeah.
call them snowbirds. Is that what they call them? I don't know.
Well,
Who
yeah,
knows?
because a lot of them used to be from Canada, right? Yeah.
Right?
They're from Canada.
Yeah. But no, I'd be coming in from Colorado. So, but Colorado's nice. We
I
had
love
snow last
Colorado,
week.
man. That takes some
Yeah.
meaning, man. Colorado is fabulous. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was gonna say, I don't know if you ever run across one of my friends, one of my really good friends. Him and I, he was in my wedding, but his name's Tim Schur. He's over in Orlando, but he does a lot of motivational speaking.
Yeah.
His website's suresuccess.com, but it's Schur, Shurr. That's his last name.
Oh, sure. That's cool. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's and he was out in California for quite a while. He was the hypnotist to the stars, so that was his
I
title.
love that
So,
stuff. Yeah. So I use
but
a little bit of hypnosis in my meditations and stuff. Yeah. Well, that's awesome.
mhm.
Yeah. Well, maybe if
But
you're here, he'll pop over and we can all go hang out.
absolutely. I'm sure he'd jump on that in a heartbeat. He's got two boys, and I think one just graduated from Purdue, and I think he's getting a job in some tech startup, and he's just like, I want my son to be successful. I'm like, of course, your son will be successful. He named them Max for like Maximilian, so perfect way to do it. That's a way to go. But
Yeah.
Stephen, again, thank you so much for your time today. We'll wrap it up here, but such a pleasure. Any parting words of advice, any knowledge that you want to just
Well,
drop on these?
first of all, I just want to say thank you for having me. It was a delight. We had a blast, man. I had a lot of fun. I
Yeah.
enjoyed sharing our stories and experiences. It was a lot of fun. So thank you for that.
Mhm.
In terms of words of wisdom, I get asked this, man. I don't know why. I always have to think, what am I going to say? Well, a couple of things. One is something very simple that I think I've mentioned it already that changed my life, and it sounds so simple, and it is. Um, you know, it's simple but not easy, right? And that is
Mhm.
that nothing has ever happened to you. It's only happened for you. And
Mhm.
if you can really dig down deep and look at even what you might think are the most traumatizing, terrible things that happened as happening to you, if you really look at it deep, you're going to see that there's gifts in there for you,
Mhm.
right? And then the other thing I would just say, look, You're never alone. And part of the reading the book is to say, look, man or woman, you're never alone, right? There's always
Hmm.
other people that are having not the exact, but similar experiences that can relate to you. So make yourself vulnerable. Get into a community. So we're creating a community where people can share their
Hmm.
things they might be ashamed of or judging themselves or other people, where they feel where they're safe, right? And they're talking to a community that understands. And you don't have to necessarily share. You can just read or listen. But even then, you are part of the community, right? Or,
Hmm.
some people love to share, right? Whatever it is for you. There's no expectation in that regard. Um, and take care of yourself first. Put
Hmm.
yourself first. Like, when the plane loses oxygen, masks come down. It's not like you're going to pick up the mask and go, hey, anybody need any oxygen?
Hmm.
You're going to put your own mask on first, right?
Yes.
You can't help anybody else until you take care of yourself. So take care of yourself. What does that mean? It means do things every day. For example, I meditate. I work out. I make myself a juice. I do certain things that are foundational things for me to
Hmm.
create a foundation for me to live from every day, where I've taken care of myself, I've taken care of my mind, my body, and my spirit. It doesn't have to be big things. You don't have to meditate for 4 hours, right? Just get up and meditate a little bit. Just wake a little earlier. And people say, well, I don't have
Hmm.
time. Well, if you don't have time to take care of yourself, when are you going to have time to be in hospital and recover from leukemia or cancer
Hmm.
or a broken leg or a broken arm? Nothing happens by accident.
Yep.
That is also happening for you. It may be saying, will you slow the heck down?
Hmm.
Right? If you don't take time for yourself, we're going to put you in a hospital so you have no choice,
Yeah.
right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you may as well do it sooner rather than later. I believe in prevent before the cure.
Hmm.
So if you take these preventative measures, you take care of your mind, your body, eat, as you said, eat clean, eat healthy, really know
Hmm.
what your body needs to be nourished, not what it
Hmm.
needs to feel full, right? Not what it
Right.
needs because it's craving. And those cravings that you get for whether it's fast food or it's chocolate, whatever it is, once you clean up and you discipline yourself not to go for that sugar,
Hmm.
those cravings will go away.
Yep.
You won't experience them anymore. You won't even want it anymore. If someone brought it home, you're like, yeah, no, don't really want that, right?
Hmm.
But you can get to that point. So that was probably more than I intended to give, but there it is, right? So those are some.
There it is.
Hopefully, somebody can get something from and use right away.
Absolutely. And I appreciate that. And of course, now I'm looking at going, all right, what am I going to fuel myself with next? Because I do need to eat. I haven't eaten. I think I'm on a 23-hour fast right now, but I
Okay.
could push it a little longer. But, and people are always like, what do you mean you haven't eaten since noon yesterday? I'm like, yeah, I get you. I'll be there. But
Yeah, yeah,
but I'm cleaning that body out.
yeah.
And I think
A lot
that's
of people
affecting the
don't
mind.
realize that
Hmm.
we need to fast so
Hmm.
that the body doesn't have to put energy into digestion. That's one of the biggest draws
Exactly.
of our energy, right? So,
Hmm.
and then, and only then, can it cleanse.
Yes,
The self-cleaning machine, if you let it cleanse, right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people don't realize that. Of course, there's a word for it. It's called autophagy. And people are like, "What's autophagy?" It's repairing yourself. It's
Yeah.
what it does. And
Mhm.
there's a
And
Nobel
then you've
Peace
got
Prize
more
out there,
then you've got more energy than ever. Then you don't need as much sleep.
right? Yeah, I learned that because I got back so late last night. And I was up early. I was like, "Why am I up so early?" Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
got to get rid of this conversation. But Stephen, this has been a great conversation. I really appreciate it. Thanks again, everybody. Go to VFT23.com and of course, or Amazon.com. It's out there. And of course, my wife's website, I'll just throw that out there, underweightbooks.com. I'm still working on trying to clean up a little bit of it, but it's out there as well. So,
Yeah, awesome.
Stephen, thanks again. And I'll end the recording here, but yeah, just hold on a couple minutes and let me stop the recording. But thanks, everyone. Thanks. And thank you, Stephen. All right.